if you've ever loved an elderly person, please listen to this story, because maybe what you're about to hear is quietly happening in your own family right now, and you don't even realize it. My grandmother didn't pass away on a painful afternoon. There was no beeping monitor or sudden alarms. She quietly left this world after a series of small changes so subtle that everyone overlooked them. Now, as I look back at every little detail, I realize her body had been saying goodbye for a very long time. We just didn't listen. There are 5 small yet crucial signs that often appear about a year before an elderly person passes away. Some of them you might be seeing every day without recognizing. And if I could turn back time, I only wish I had understood sooner. To hug her longer, to hold her hand tighter, to not miss those last precious moments. If you find it interesting, don't forget to click subscribe and like below to support the author and spread valuable lessons to many others. Now, let's get started. Sign number 1, significant weight loss. I still remember my grandmother vividly. Every early morning, her round figure wrapped in the gray sweater she knitted the year before, sitting and folding banana leaves to make traditional cakes. She had a slight stoop, but was always quick on her feet, her eyes twinkling beneath eyebrows that had turned silver with age. But within just a few months, she seemed like a completely different person. I didn't notice it right away. Honestly, who would people always say that's just part of aging, and I naively thought she was just getting a little older. The first time I really noticed was around Christmas. She used to be the busiest person in the house every year, but that year, she didn't spend much time in the kitchen. When I ran downstairs and asked, "Grandma, are we still making cakes this year like always?" She smiled softly, but her smile was thin, like fading smoke. "My back hurts too much. I'll let you kids handle it this time." I was taken aback. She never skipped making cakes. I thought maybe she was just tired and brushed it off. But a few days later, while helping her change clothes, I suddenly noticed how her shoulder bones stuck out, her skin hung loose, and her body felt as light as dry straw. "Grandma, why are you so thin?" I asked. She smiled again, her frail dry hand resting gently on mine. "I'm old, sweetie. That's just how it is." I remember falling silent, not daring to ask more. I didn't want to upset her, but from then on I started paying attention. She ate less than before. Each meal just a few bites of fish, half a bowl of rice, and then she'd set down her chopsticks. "I'm full," she'd say. I thought she truly was full. But when I kept seeing her eat less, week after week, I started to worry. One time, I pleaded with her, "Please eat a bit more, Grandma. I made this soup just for you. It's really good." She only shook her head. "My stomach isn't hungry anymore. Dear, I eat, but nothing tastes good." Later, a doctor told us that for elderly people, especially those nearing the end of life, the sense of hunger fades. The body starts to shut down gently and gradually, like a lantern running out of oil. But I didn't know that when it was all happening. I just thought maybe she had a cold. Or maybe it was the weather. We bought her supplements, nourishing food, cooked all her favorite dishes. But nothing helped her gain the weight back. It felt like she was disappearing. Week by week, month by month, that same sweater fit looser and looser. Her face grew more hollow, though her eyes still sparkled, but they looked tired. I remember one day sitting by the window, she called me over. "Come sit with me for a bit. Do you see that mango tree out there? Your grandpa planted it back in the day. It's so tall now, isn't it?" I nodded. She continued. "Everything grows up so quickly, while the people shrink smaller and smaller." I held her hand and felt a sting in my chest. I didn't fully understand her words then, but now I do. She was sensing her body slowly leaving this world. Significant weight loss? Not because of dieting, not because of stomach problems or blood sugar. It was her body quietly rejecting life. The first subtle sign that she was preparing to leave me, but I didn't recognize it. Neither did the rest of my family. We all thought she'd bounce back. Old people have good days and bad days. Who can ever know which is the last I share this story, not to make anyone sad, but to help you not make the same mistake I did. If your elderly loved one is losing weight for no clear reason, if their clothes start to hang loose even though they eat just like before, don't brush it off. Ask, care, and if you can, just be with them a little more. Because maybe, just maybe, their body is already sending out the first gentle signal that a goodbye is quietly approaching. Sign number 2, extreme fatigue and exhaustion. My grandmother used to be the most energetic person I knew. When I was little, she would go to the market at 5 a.m., come back to cook lunch, then sweep the yard, water the plants, and take care of everything. I used to think she didn't know what tired meant, but then one day I saw her nap for 3 hours straight. That had never happened before. When I gently called out to her, she was still groggy, as if she hadn't really woken up. "Grandma, are you feeling okay?" I sat down next to her, worried. "I'm fine. Probably just stayed up too late," she said with a faint smile. "I was watching that show you, like the one with the boy looking for his mom." Her smile was soft, but her voice was so weak I had to lean in to hear. And her breathing, slow, heavy, like every breath took effort. That's when I started paying closer attention. She used to walk to the corner store with ease. Now, just stepping outside, she needed a chair to rest. One time she bent down to pick up a fallen basket and just sat there on the cold cement, breathing hard like she'd just run a mile. "Grandma, you're breathing so hard. Let me get you some water." "No, no need, sweetheart. I'm just a little tired." She waved her hand and stayed still for a long while. Another time I asked her to make rice dumplings with me, like we used to when I was a kid. Back then, she'd laugh as I smeared flour all over my face and still roll perfect dumplings one after another. My childhood was full of the smell of ginger and soft white rice balls. That day, I got everything ready. Flour, sugar, the works. She sat down, rolled one or two, then placed the dough back on the table with a deep sigh. "You go ahead. My hands are too tired." I froze. "Your hands. You used to make 100 dumplings without resting." "I know, but things are different now." She said, her eyes holding something more than tiredness, something like quiet understanding. One rainy afternoon, I sat beside her under the porch. The drizzle was cool, nostalgic, like those childhood days when she'd tuck me in as we listened to the rain. "You're really tired all the time, aren't you?" I asked softly, after holding back my worry for weeks. She was quiet for a while. "You know," she finally said, her voice raspy. "Getting old is like having an old phone. When it's new, the battery lasts all day. Now, it dies before you can even use it." I couldn't laugh, because I saw it every day. She slept more, spoke less, and every small move seemed like a decision. There was a time I was cleaning the house, and she got up to fetch a cloth. After just a few steps, she stopped halfway, clutching the edge of the table, her face pale. "Sweetheart, can you get me a chair?" Her voice barely made it through the air. I rushed to catch her, panicked, helpless. She had been the one to hold up our family when Grandpa passed. She never allowed herself to fall. Now she had to lean on me because even the smallest effort drained her completely. That night, we sat together drinking ginger tea. Her hands trembled, but she still insisted on pouring a cup for me. "I feel so sad sometimes," she said. "Back then, I carried the whole family. Now I'm scared to hold a cup of tea. It's like my body doesn't belong to me anymore." I held her trembling hand. My throat tightened. "It's okay, Grandma. I'm here now. You rest. I'll do everything for you." She smiled. "I know. But you see, the elderly don't fear being tired. We fear becoming a burden. I just hope you'll remember me the way I used to be, not like this, stuck in one place." I leaned into her shoulder. I had never seen her so small, not just in size, but in the fragility of a life that had walked almost its entire path. Later, after reading medical journals and talking to doctors, I learned unusual fatigue in the elderly isn't just about poor sleep or nutrition. It's a sign the body is slowly shutting down one system at a time. The liver, kidneys, heart, lungs, they all start to slow. Like a factory powering down bit by bit. Quietly, inevitable. And I, who once thought my grandma was a superhero, could only sit beside her in silence, doing all I could to make every remaining day feel like a memory, not a burden. Sign number 3, dementia or withdrawal. The first time I noticed Grandma becoming forgetful was on a cold winter afternoon. I came home like usual, opened the gate and walked in, only to find her standing in the garden holding an empty basket. "What are you doing out here, Grandma?" I called out, surprised. The sun had already gone down and the wind was so cold it made me shiver. She turned around, her eyes distant and unfocused. After a moment, she squinted and looked at me slowly. "Who are you?" I stood still. My heart sank. My chest tightened. "It's me, Grandma, your grandchild." She blinked, then smiled. But it wasn't a smile of relief. It was the kind of smile someone gives when they're trying to hide the confusion and panic rising in their tired mind. From that day on, things began to change. Not all at once, not with noise or drama, but quietly, like a thin wisp of smoke curling through the air. She started repeating the same questions every few minutes. "Where did you put Grandma's coat? Did I leave my glasses on the table or in your bag? Did the cat eat anything today?" At first, I thought it was just typical old age. But then one day, she made 2 pots of tea, one for herself and one she placed on the altar. She said, "Your grandpa loves ginger tea. I made him some. I keep calling him, but he won't come drink it." I watched her hands tremble as she placed the cup carefully. Her lips moved, whispering softly to someone who was no longer there. I couldn't bring myself to stop her. I just stood beside her quietly and placed a hand on her shoulder. She began repeating stories over and over like a scratched record. But eventually, even those stories began to fall apart, pieces missing, names confused. Sometimes she called me by my mother's name. I wasn't angry. I was heartbroken. This was the same woman who once taught me how to write, who told me fairy tales every night before bed. And now, she couldn't remember my name. Once I was reading in my room when she opened the door in a panic. "Have you seen my mother? She went to the market this morning and hasn't come back. I think she's lost." She clutched my hand, eyes wide and teary like a child afraid of being left behind. "I'm so worried, sweetheart. A young girl walking around in the afternoon sun, it's dangerous." I held her tight. My heart felt like it was being squeezed in a vice. "It's okay, Grandma. She's probably on her way back now." I couldn't tell her the truth that her mother had passed over 70 years ago. Her memory was like a torn piece of cloth. New moments slipped away, while distant pasts returned as vividly as if they'd just happened. It wasn't just her memory that faded. She also started to withdraw from the world. She didn't want to talk, didn't want to watch TV, stopped caring about what was for dinner. I asked her to come sit in the yard and enjoy the flowers like we used to. She shook her head. I don't feel like it. There's no one to talk to. I'm here with you, Grandma. Yes, but why does it still feel so empty? That was the word she used, and I understood. Maybe, in her mind, there was only a thick fog now. No laughter, no familiar voices, just a vast, lonely space that felt cold and unfamiliar. I used to wonder to myself, where did the grandma go, the one who used to laugh so much, who gently scolded me when I was naughty, who lulled me to sleep with soft lullabies? But over time, I understood. She hadn't left. She was still here. Only now she was slowly drifting into an inner world where scattered memories floated. And I could only walk alongside her for a short stretch more. So I learned to be more patient, gentler. I told her the old stories she once told me, like when I was small. Sometimes she smiled. Sometimes she fell asleep mid-story. But I kept telling them, because it was the only way I knew to hold on to her a little longer. One evening, during a rare moment of clarity as the sunset stretched across the window, she said, I don't want this, but my mind. It's like a fogged-up mirror. I can't see clearly anymore. I held her hand, and tears spilled onto her skin. Even if you forget me, Grandma, I'll always remember you. Every lullaby, every dish you made, every time we snuck off to eat sweet soup at the corner without telling Mom and Dad. She smiled, and I realized maybe she didn't need to remember who I was, as long as she could still feel the love I had for her. That was enough. When an elderly person begins to forget familiar names, repeat the same questions, confuse time and space, or withdraw from activities they once loved, it may be a sign of dementia. This isn't just normal aging, but a deeper decline in brain function often seen in conditions like Alzheimer's or Parkinson's disease. These changes usually happen slowly and quietly, but continuously. If recognized early, loved ones can offer comfort, dignity, and emotional connection to help elders live their final years more peacefully. Sign number 4. Frequent infections and slow healing wounds. My grandmother had always been healthy, but once she entered her 80s, I started noticing tiny changes that quietly worried me. There was one time she got a small scratch while handling something in the kitchen. Normally, she'd heal quickly, but not that time. I remember that day clearly. She sat on her old wooden chair looking at the scratch on her hand with a slight frown. Oh dear, why is this taking so long to heal? Normally, I'm better within a week. She sighed, her voice more tired than usual. I looked closely. The scratch was red, a bit swollen. Even though she tried to keep it clean and applied medicine, it didn't improve. In fact, it got more painful. From then on, it wasn't just once she started getting small cuts and scrapes that took weeks to heal. Once she caught a minor cold we thought would pass quickly, but it lingered. She coughed for days and was noticeably more fatigued. I remember those quiet afternoons sitting next to her while she reminisced about her youthful days running in the garden behind her childhood home. Now, she just wanted to rest and stay still. Are you feeling okay, Grandma? I'd ask, gently holding her hand. I'm just a little tired, sweetie. Nothing to worry about. She would smile softly, but I caught a glimpse of sadness in her eyes. That's when I truly realized how much weaker her body had become. Minor illnesses, little wounds, they were now real challenges for her. Studies show that as the body ages, the immune system weakens. Older adults become more vulnerable to infections, and wounds take longer to heal. This happens due to a decline in immune cell function, reduced blood circulation, and slower tissue regeneration. These changes are serious warning signs and need attentive medical care to avoid further complications and pain. Sign number 5. Major. Changes in breathing and circulation. I remember one late autumn afternoon vividly. The soft golden light filtered through the window, casting a gentle glow in my grandmother's little room. She sat in her old armchair, gazing out at the fading flowers in the garden. Suddenly, she turned to me, her voice faint, "Sweetheart, I feel like I can't breathe, like something's pressing down on my chest. I don't know what to do." I took her hand and felt the chill and trembling. Her breathing was fast and uneven, like she was holding on to every second. I knelt beside her, gently reassuring, "I'm here, Grandma. You're not alone." But her eyes held a deep, distant sadness. She whispered, "I know. I don't have much time left. Don't cry, okay?" I tried to hold back the tears. My heart ached. I wanted to hold on to her longer, to her stories, her laughter, her warm embraces. But her body was tired. The changes in her breathing and blood circulation told me we were nearing goodbye. In her final days, I stayed close, listening to her soft breaths, talking about old memories, and hoping she felt peace. Then, one quiet morning, she passed gently, leaving behind an emptiness nothing could fill. In older adults, the weakening of the cardiovascular and respiratory systems leads to noticeable changes, rapid or uneven. Breathing shortness of breath even at rest. Poor circulation causes pale or bluish skin-cold hands and feet, constant fatigue and swelling. These are signals that the body is approaching its final stage and needs special care to ease pain and provide comfort. Looking back at the time I had with Grandma, I finally understand all those small things. Her unexplained weight loss, the times she was too tired to stand, the moments she quietly withdrew into her own world, the wounds that wouldn't heal, and finally the labored breathing. They were all silent messages from her body gently preparing us for a farewell. At the time, I was too young to understand, too unprepared. All I felt was sadness, fear, and loss. But now, remembering her, I see those signs not as an end, but as her final way of reaching out, a soft reminder to cherish every remaining moment, to give her all the love I could. She taught me something precious, that passing away, though heartbreaking, is part of life's natural rhythm. When we learn to listen to the body and love fully, we no longer fear it. What remains is peace, gratitude, and eternal love. So if you notice these small changes in your elderly loved ones, don't ignore them. Spend time with them. Say the words that matter. Create beautiful final memories, because that is the most meaningful gift we can offer one another before we say goodbye. If you find the video interesting and useful, please subscribe and turn on the notification bell below the video so you don't miss any future content. Your support means a lot to me, and if you enjoy this video, you can help spread these valuable lessons by liking and sharing it. If you like the topic of this video, please comment 1. If you don't, please comment 2 to let me know how I can improve and create better videos for you.